How's it going, everyone? Glad you could join us for another episode of Core 4 Life. We're your hosts. I'm Mike, here with
Matt,
Ryan, and Andrew.
As we bring you another episode every Thursday to discuss 4 key pillars in our lives: be fit, be driven, be noble, and be chill, and how our faith is the backbone behind each of those pillars. We're talking to some awesome guests along the way, as well as tackling different topics, all in the pursuit of staying accountable with each other and living our lives the way God intended. Tune in each week to see if there may be something missing in your life. Let's jump into today's episode after a quick ad for our sponsor. Have you ever thought about making a podcast but thought, it's probably too hard to get started? Couldn't be further from the truth when you use Anchor. First of all, it's free, so check off box number 1. It has easy-to-use creation tools on your browser or your phone. Anchor distributes your podcast for you, and you can make money no matter how many listeners you have. It really is a one-stop shop for all of your podcast needs. So stop delaying and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, our guest for the podcast is a Northeast Ohio native, a minority partner of an Amazon fulfillment storefront, a grateful husband of 12 years to an amazing third-grade teacher in the Wadsworth School District. Tiffanys, proud father of 2 awesome boys, Griffin, age 8, and Sawyer, age 4, and the founder of a 100% volunteer-based nonprofit foundation, Project Outrun. This organization utilizes custom Nike by You shoes and Project Outrun's signature swag to help empower kids and families to outrun pediatric cancer. They just hit their 4-year anniversary this April and have designed around 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids in 27 states, truly making kids across the country feel that I'm not sick, but my shoes are. Oh, and Andy has gotten motivated through some of our fitness challenge posts, and he believes he can do over 50 push-ups in a minute and run a sub-65-second 400-meter. We'll see which one he might want to try at 10 o'clock tonight after the podcast, maybe after the Moscow Mule. Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, welcome to the Core 4 Life podcast, Andy Shepperd.
thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's funny when you hear like all your statistics, like in a paragraph of like your life, kind of played out. I don't know. It's a weird one, but I like it. Thanks for doing that for me.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. But we appreciate you and you being one of our first guests here in season 2. Get to kick off our new theme of the guest picks their drink. So we've got the Moscow Mule tonight, which you're into right now. Pretty basic.
It's pretty basic, but it's refreshing.
It's good.
I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Classic. So
hitting the spot, man.
I wanted to ask you guys about season 2. Like, did anybody get a big head like over the? I know it wasn't the summer, but like the break, like get cap teeth or highlights.
Yeah, Matt's
I'm
actually
the only one with hair.
Yeah.
Do you think highlights would look good? Because I'm down.
No, I think we've realized that, we still don't really know what we're doing, and we're just enjoying having a good time.
Right,
so,
but can we, I know we talked about it before the pod started, but the clubhouse is just legit.
Why don't you give us, what do you like about it?
All the funtivities, patent pending, trademark.
That's right.
That's a Mike Brown exclusive.
Appreciate that.
I told you I like the idea that you can't take one step without like running face first into some sort of an activity. Like it's exactly what a 40-year-old man needs on a Thursday night. So thank you.
Yeah, we love to have fun. We love to bring the guests in. That's why we love that you were able to come here in person. I know it's been a journey to get you here. We've tried, I'd say, 4 or 5 different times. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the COVID journey?
Yeah, so the first time we had, it was always COVID testing, pending testing. My niece, my sons, my wife. Then I actually got COVID, which was exciting.
That was actually good because then we knew we could actually get this done.
Bro, I have so many antibodies. Right? It feels really great to have all these antibodies. But then I finally got it, and I remember we were very excited because we knew like there was no way that I would have to worry about missing out on another in-person podcast because I really wanted to do this with you guys, to feel the energy, to be in the clubhouse, to do the funtivities. And to see, it's literally, I literally love this space. Like it's really a true testament to like your guys' drive of what you want this to be, So season 2, let's get it.
Let's get it. Yeah, appreciate that, man. And we're glad to have you here. Really glad that we could get you here in person to do this and get to know a little bit more about you because I know a little bit about you, but I mean we've only met like 1 or 2 times.
Thanks
so
to 2-5. Shout out to 2-5.
that's right, 2-5, Larry Seiler.
The
Yep.
best defensive back in Revere High School history.
That's right.
We got a buddy who literally went by his football number for like a decade of his life. Like people were like 2-5.
Yeah.
So much so that one of our buddies at his wedding gave him $100 and $2 bills and $5 bills, like taped together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so 2-5 connected us. I know you share on this. You share a rider's journey.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of that. So, but first, just wanted to give you a little bit of background in the beginning here. But why don't you just kick us off with a little bit about your background, who you are, and what you've been up to lately?
Yeah, so I'm a local businessman that kind of stumbled into the nonprofit foundation life accidentally. And that sort of happened. I'm a runner. That's sort of my fitness pillar. And I'm a late in life runner. I was a basketball player growing up, and then about 7 years ago, I just fell in love with running. And so I would go and run local 5Ks. And so my buddy said to me, why don't you come and run this 5K? It's for a local family in Copley, Ohio. And it's for this little girl named Kylie Rose Jacobs. And I said, great. And he said, she's battling pediatric cancer. She's in remission. And the family is raising all this money to go back to the 5th floor at Akron Children's Hospital. And I remember being like really moved by the idea that this family that wasn't completely out of the fight yet, like they were in remission and prognosis was good, but they didn't really know. As a cancer family, like you never really know. But they wanted to raise money for those families still in the fight. So when I went out there, I watched this like radiant ball of light, Kylie, walk around the track. And I was just so taken by her, like, and so moved by just the courage and the connectivity of her in this community. Like 1,000 people showed up and there were bright shirts everywhere. And it was beautiful, right? And it just stuck with me. And I remember sitting there listening to Dr. Horde, the oncologist, like speak and just being like, this is like real life. This is like real life stuff. And I had one son at the time. And I remember looking at her and thinking, like, what if this was my son? Like, what if this was my son? You know, so she just stuck with me. So I thought every year I'm going to come back to this 5K. I'm going to run this 5K and check on this little girl. And so in the second year when I went back, I found out she had a relapse. And she had a Wilms tumor. And Wilms tumors, like, never come back. They just don't come back generally. But this one did. So she had another year of chemotherapy and surgery. And when I watched her this year, I thought, what could I do to help empower her on her road to recovery? Like, what would I do if it were my boys? And like in my home, we're crafty. Like we do crafts, all sorts of crafts for everything. We're just always trying to celebrate every aspect of life and celebrate the littlest things. And so I thought what I would do is I'm a big sneakerhead, so I would make my son shoes. Like I would make him really cool shoes to help him feel fast and powerful and strong. And Kylie had this really bright logo. So I said, you know what? Next year, because again, she was in remission and Wilms tumors don't come back and they definitely don't come back a third time. It's like next year before the 5K, I'm going to make her shoes to match her 5K logo with Nike ID, and I'm going to drop them off at her door and be like, Kylie, I'm a huge fan. See you on the track. Well, Christmas of that year in 2016, her Wilms tumor came back for a third time, like unprecedented, like nationally unprecedented. They don't come back that many times. So I went home that night, hopped on my computer, and started designing these shoes to match her 5K logo. And Nike ID has like a set like amount of shoes that you can design, like templates at that point in time. And for some reason, you can pull it up on our Instagram. It's the very first post ever. They had the perfect template to match her 5K logo. Like, you could not have painted a better shoe for her. And so I put K-Rose 5K on the shoe. So here's me. I've never met Kylie. I know the family knows me because I did well at their 5K, but that's the extent of it. So I've designed these shoes, and she's had a really successful surgery in Cincinnati, but I have no idea how I'm going to tell this family that I made their daughter's shoes. So I'm sitting in my car. I remember exactly where I was. And the first thing that came to my head was, when Kylie outruns cancer, she's got to have the right shoes. So I sent that off to Eric Jacobs, essentially like, hey, it's the Shepherds. And when Kylie outruns cancer, she has to have the right shoes. And I'm like, I don't even know if this dude's going to respond to me. Like, he's going to be like, what is this?
Taking a risk.
What is this? Yeah. But, you know, he responded immediately. He was like, Andy, this is the sweetest thing ever. And when Kylie's feeling really poopy, I'm going to show her these shoes, and it's really going to brighten her day. Like, and I was like, wow, that was, and I took a screenshot of the message, like the interaction between the two of us, and I sent it to my wife, Stephanie, and I was like, Steph, I don't know what just happened, but like something just happened. And I said, what if we took our Christmas money up to Akron Children's Hospital and started something called Project Outrun, letting kids design their shoes, their colors, their messages, whatever empowers them to outrun whatever they feel like is chasing them. And my wife is so sweet. She's like, sounds good to me. So that was the goal. The goal was to get up to Akron Children's Hospital and start designing shoes with kids. But I had no idea if it would work, if it would resonate, if it would be empowering. And I didn't know how hard it was to get into hospitals. I literally thought I was going to call the hospital and be like, it's Andy Shepperd. I'm coming. Right? Like Oprah, I'm giving away shoes. So it took 4 months, like 4 months for us to actually get into the hospital. So April 26th of 2017, my wife and I roll up to Akron Children's Hospital with some iPads and some swag bags. They weren't this swaggy at the time, but I don't want to like crinkle and mess up the microphone, but I want to show you. Yeah. These are like our elevated swag bags, present day. But we roll up there with some swag bags, some super bright T-shirts that said Project Outrun on them, and some homemade finish lines. Because I really wanted to use this metaphor of the race, of the run. And I built a stencil on my sister-in-law's Cricut that said, I am finished with, and it had a blank space. And I would take spray paint, and I would be outside. My neighbors must have thought I was crazy. I have all these, and I use cash register spools. You could I would like roll them out, tape them, put the stencil down, spray them with spray paint, and would say, I am finished with, glue dowel rods so that they would like spin together and like tie them up and put, don't run from things, run towards finish lines, right? Like, so this, and meanwhile the spray paint would like be coming off on the bags, but it was the thought and the sentiment of like what we were doing. So we go up there and we meet with 4 kids that night, and it was like magic. Like, the interaction of the kids, of the child life specialists, there was just so much energy. And so we just kept doing it. So we did 17 pairs with our money, and I was out of money. I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Like, we don't have a never-ending supply of Christmas cash. Like, we're tapped. But the hospital's like, these kids love this. Like, what if we created a fund here for you, and you can fundraise out of that fund and do shoes for more kids? So we hadn't told anybody what we were doing. Like, even one of our best friends is a nurse on the 5th floor, Lucy Lawrence. Do you know Lucy?
Oh, yeah. She's been Ryder's nurse the whole time.
Best,
yeah, she's awesome.
Such a small world. So Lucy's like telling Steph one day, there's people up here like doing shoes like for kids. And Steph's like, yeah, it's us. She's like, wait, what? So
was your original thought you were just going to go in kind of one time and just do it? Or were you thinking like, hey, who knows where this will go? Like, what was your thought like initially going in there?
No idea. I was literally like, when it's like this podcast. It's like the momentum and the snowball effect of you don't really know where it's going, but you know that for some reason you keep meeting the path of least resistance. And so it's almost pulling you. Like you're pushing, but it's almost a push-pull relationship, which is what I always equate, like the things in life that are destined for you feel that way, right? Yeah. You're pushing, but you're also being pulled. And we can talk about what's pulling you, but I do feel that way. So this entire project has been that, right? So we do these shoes. The hospital's like, we're going to create a fund for you, but I got to start raising money, I guess, right? So we start telling our friends, like, hey, we're doing this thing, and they're like, we want to support that. We want to support that. We want to support that. I was like, okay, so I guess I got to throw an event. So Springside Racquet and Fitness Club. I went up there, and it's just so funny because I remember like pitching this, like it's clear as day, like going up there and being like, I'm trying to do this thing, and I'm making shoes for kids that are sick, and I'm not sick, but my shoes are, and can I use the space? And feeling so silly, like, because they're your ideas, it's your baby, and you like, it's like you're giving your baby to the world, and you don't know how the world's going to respond. And every time people were like, yeah, yes, yes, I kept hearing yeses. So we threw a fundraiser at Springside Racquet and Fitness. I invited 200 of my closest friends, and like just my people, like. If I don't hug you and kiss you on the cheek, like you weren't at this fundraiser, because I didn't know how many people I could invite to it.
I feel like you're a very friendly guy, and you might hug and kiss a lot of people. So.
That's a fact. 200.
200 might be more than we could get combined.
I have a list of 200 people.
Okay. Do we make that list now,
did,
though?
Yeah, you're on it. You got
We're
the
best friends.
Are you
cool.
And you're feeding me Moscow mules. Like, done. So we raised $15,000. And out of like little carnival games that we made, again, with the craftiness. Like we just made carnival games, kids came, we had ice, very simple. We raised $15,000. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, that's a lot of shoes. And I've got this amazing Nike contact. If I can show like proof of concept, maybe they'll help me, So we did like 60 some pairs. I shot a video and with Josh Booth, who was an incredible videographer that helped me on that. And we sent it to Nike. And everybody's like, Nike's gonna take forever. Nike takes forever. Like a week later, the GM of Nike by You was like, what are you doing with our shoes? Let's talk. I was like, yeah, let's talk. And he's like, I'm giving you some windows for meetings. Do any of these work? And I was like, any of them work. And
I am completely free.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, I'm flying to Oregon to go to the Nike corporate headquarters and sit at this giant table with these Nike execs and tell them what I'm doing with their then Nike ID, now it's Nike by You product. So I went out there, I met Ken Dice, who was then the GM, who was just an incredible man. And he believed in me. And he didn't know me. And I was literally out there like, I need this, and I need this. Can you help? And he was like, yeah, we can help. So then they started helping. So like my funding went twice as far. And so since then, you know, we become our own 501c3, our own foundation outside of Akron Children's Hospital. And we've done shoes for almost 1,000 kids in 4 years, all 100% volunteer-based. And we're just so proud of it, you know, and we've told so many shoe stories, and we've been a part of so many medal moments and finish line feelings. And I want to show you guys. So when we go into hospitals, before COVID, we used to be inpatient, and that's where I met Mike and Ryder. And so the kids design their shoes, and on the Nike by You platform, there's like 53 different types of shoes that they can design, from like, you know, basketball to football to casual to all sorts, right? And they can change everything from the sole to the swoosh. So after they design their shoes, they come through what we call the swag station. So we set up a really cool swag station. So they get their Project Outrun bag. These come in 2 colors, pink and green. They get a Project Outrun t-shirt, and this is a fun one. We're all about the bright colors, right? So it says Project Outrun,
That's sweet.
and then it says, I'm not sick, but my shoes are on the back.
Yep.
That's so cool.
And the idea is that these hospital rooms are so full of like grays and whites, and we love these kids to be in waiting rooms in just bright neon, happy colors with crazy cool sneaks that instead they're not looking at, you know, the damp, dreary things. They're checking out, oh, he designed those shoes. I wonder what those are about. Kind of creating a culture of colorful and happiness and brightness and those sorts of things. So that's why we use the neon. They get to design their shoes. So this is actually Kylie's shoe that we did as a fundraiser for Akron Children's in 2018. We raised like $40,000 and split it with the hospital. So 20,000 came to us, and 20,000 came straight to the 5th floor to help with ancillary medical bills, transportation, food vouchers, all that sort of stuff. So this was like her custom shoe with Nike, which was cool. I actually have some treats for you guys. That's what these are. So I'm gonna put those there.
Nice. We love treats.
They get new to the game is they get Project Outrun socks, which are sweet, right? They say I'm not sick, but my socks are on the bottom. So that's kind of fun.
Nice.
I love that tagline. That's awesome.
Yeah, they get, like I talked about those finish lines. We've got this place in Cleveland that prints them for us now called Streamline. So we have like every single color under the sun. But as you can see, they say, I am finished with. And we tell all the kids, like, your shoes were free, but they're going to cost a goal. And we don't care what the goal is, big or small. You ate your broccoli, you were nice to your sister, or you're done with chemotherapy. But when you reach that goal, bust through this thing. Have mom and dad hold it and bust through that. And then the last thing that we make all of our Outrun kids do is the medal ceremony. And I had the Sharon football team, all the captains, up at a UH event, and they were working the swag station like these giant football players. And I made them do this thing where when the kiddos come through, they get all their swag, and then there's like, we have a counter. Like, so once they've done their shoes, they click the counter, and then they get the medal ceremony. So it'll be like, bum, 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 and then they have to put the medal around the neck.
Oh,
that's
so
awesome.
I'm going to do the medal ceremony on Matt, because this medal is for you guys to hang up in the studio clubhouse.
Nice.
Because you guys, for having me on, honestly, helping me further this message, are champions for our kids and for our project. So who's getting the medal ceremony? Matt?
We'll give it to Matt. Yeah, sure.
Let's do it, Matt.
Here. Go ahead, record it.
Take this.
Oh, jeez.
You ready?
I don't know, man.
You are. Bum, bum, bum. Look at that. Blinging.
Dude, you're, I mean, everything that you have, like all of the, this is brilliant. This is marketed so well. I'm so impressed, man.
Oh, thanks, dude.
You were wondering why it took off at that point, but you had a thought that was very it was very big and helpful towards that whole community of people going through pediatric cancer, and it was a way to make it fun through that time period and give them some things to look forward to during it. I mean, and you mentioned Ryder. That was one of the first things for us that was really outside of the box. So again, we'll give that another shout out to 25, and he had donated for Ryder's shoes, but that's when we got to know you and got to see that whole process of what you guys went through and helped him design it. And he really is the first thing that he really did using his own thoughts and ideas and putting it into it to design his own shoe. And it actually came out really well.
It was sweet.
Yeah,
and he wore those things out, man.
Yeah, so and he definitely wore those out for a long time, and those will not be worn by his little brothers like everything else that he has. Yeah. But so it was just cool to see him go through that process and to know that you've done that with 1,000 kids. I mean, it's a big thing, man, and it gives people hope, and it gives them something else to look forward to, and just something fun, man. And it's so it's an awesome cause, and appreciate you being able to share that with us.
Yeah, buddy, it's funny how worlds collide and how we're here today because we have just so much connectivity, so much random connective tissue that brought us here to this day for this cause. And it's just, that's the best part of this for me has been the relationship building,
Yeah.
Like joining teams. That's what I tell all these families when I speak with them. I said, I'm just honored. I'm a tiny part of your team, tiny, but I'm on your team. And I will do anything for any of these families. Legitimately, I would do anything. And it's just an honor to be a part of that fight because it's just real. It's like the realest thing ever and the ultimate perspective giver. And I'm sure that you going through it, your perspective on all things has shifted. Like, I guarantee you don't sweat the small stuff anymore.
Yeah, we've talked about that enough. Yeah, it definitely puts things in perspective and lets you realize what's actually important in this life while we're here on Earth.
It's crazy. I heard this thing, so I'm going through this spiritual journey right now that I do want to talk with you guys about at some point tonight, but there can't be love without sacrifice, right? And it's that balance of, and all of my cancer families say the same thing. And I have 2 boys, and he was 4 when I wrote that. He's 5. He just turned 5. Happy belated birthday, Sawyer. But my 8 and 5-year-old boys, like, they're healthy. I don't have pediatric cancer in my direct family. But the love that I have for my 2 sons, that's how I feel about these kids. Like, I look at these kids like they're my own, And if we all kind of looked at each other like we had some stake in it, why? And I don't know why we don't. I don't know why we don't all look at each other like that's what I want the story of my life to be. I cared. I really did care, and that's the most beautiful part of this walk for me is the joining of the teams and the supporting, and that's why I think that we've been so successful. The authenticity of it, like, yeah, it's shoes, but the special sauce is like, we will be your ultimate hype people, and we will love you, and we will support you, and whatever we can do to help you on that road to recovery, we are about.
Yeah.
And I love like that. And I feel like coming off of a year where there's so much just like beating people down and people just felt, and they said depression was super high, like all these things. And it's so refreshing just hearing you in that journey. And it's like, we might have mentioned this like just before the podcast started, but like when you're thinking of other people and you're not thinking of yourself and all the things that you have going on and all the things that are going, that you have to get done, and you're not in your head all the time, and you're just reaching out and you're getting to pour into somebody else, like that's the rewarding part of life in general.
Yeah,
and
dude.
That's where you feel the most alive.
That's the space.
Not when you're worrying about yourself and trying to
get
accomplish
out
all
of
your own
head.
things. Get out of your own head.
Gotta get out of there. I preach that to everybody that'll listen, because everybody's so easy to get caught up in our own stuff.
Yeah.
So easy every day, But if you can just extend that olive branch and look for those opportunities. I want to tell this story if I can really quickly.
Yeah.
So along this road, we've had a lot of magical things kind of occur, and one of the most magical was we were doing some work at Cleveland Clinic, and we were in their subway, which is essentially the waiting area for all the immune compromised kids at their outpatient facility. And we were just doing random shoe design with a bunch of kids while they were waiting to go back for their infusions. And there was a family there with 2 daughters, and one of the daughters would not tell me her name. She was like, "Hi, I'm patient's sister." And I was like, "I know that you're patient's sister, but I'd like to know your name." And she was like, "I'm patient's sister." And I was like, I'm really stubborn. I'm not going to let this go. You're going to tell me your name. Because I know so many times with these cancer kiddos, their siblings can feel so invisible. Mm-hmm. And so finally she told me her name, and I shook her hand, and I looked at her, when you could shake people's hands with it not being weird. I've seriously shook somebody's hand this week, and I was like, I apologize for shaking their hand because it's such a weird time now. But at this point, it was not weird to shake a hand. And I said, it's really a pleasure to meet you. So while this is going on, there's a young adult cancer patient that is receiving experimental treatment at Cleveland Clinic. So she's like 26 or 27. I think she's 27. And she sees what we're doing, and she asked one of my volunteers, like, "What's going on?" And my volunteer, Nicole, who's the greatest, she said, "We're Project Outrun. We design shoes for kids battling pediatric cancer. And do you want shoes?" And she was like, "I'm an adult." And she's like, "We don't care." And so she comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, there's a young adult patient over here named Lauren Cornelison, and can she do shoes? Because I already told her she could. And I was like, of course she can do shoes. This is awesome. So Lauren designed shoes. I go in to meet her and her mom. And she was just like such a brilliant ball of light. Like same with Kylie, like these just pillars. And later on that night, she goes on her Facebook account and posts this incredible thing about how she met Project Outrun and she witnessed this interaction between me and a sibling. And she thought about how that sibling must feel. And she wanted to do something for that sibling. So she started a sibling fund. This girl who's battling for her life, who could have so easily just been like tunnel vision, saw that void, saw that space that needed filled, and acted, right? And said, I'm gonna start a sibling. She raised like $6,000 in like a week. So all of a sudden we have a sibling fund, which is incredible because I could never ask my donor base to raise money for the cancer kiddos and their siblings and their uncles. And like, I just like at some point you have to like corral it. So I said, Lauren, what do you want to do with this funding? Like, do you want to have an event? And she was like, I'm like, because I know there's this cancer camp called Camp Quality that has 100 kids. About 30 of them are patients, about 70 are siblings. We could go there for the day and do 100 pairs of shoes in a day. She was like, let's do it. So we took her to Camp Quality with us, and she designed with all these kids, and I made the entire camp give her a standing ovation. And she was so shy, she hated it. But I was like, I still made her do it because she deserved all that shine. All that sunlight to be shown upon her. So we did another Cleveland Clinic event, and then she got into her treatment, and she was really ill. She was really, really ill. And about 6 months ago, she kind of knew that her time was short. And so she would reach out to me and say, Andy, I really want to restart the sibling fund. I said, Lauren, fantastic. She's like, I'm going to start doing some posting, and I'm going to start kind of getting things back in line for that. I was like, awesome. So she did a couple of posts, and then she had a blanket raffle with her Aunt Karen, and all of a sudden, like thousands of dollars are rolling in for Lauren's sibling fund. And Lauren actually passed 2 weeks ago when the family had me come and speak at the funeral. And in lieu of flowers, they asked for donations to Project Outrun for the sibling fund. I mean, there's no greater honor. The family asked me to speak at her funeral, which is the greatest honor. And then the family asked for, in lieu of flowers, to donate to this legacy that she wanted to. I mean, I've never been more humbled and more terrified to speak in front of people in my life because I didn't want to let her down, you know? And so I get up in front of this room of strangers, but they don't feel like strangers. They feel like family. And I'm telling these stories of Lauren, and I'm having these conversations with Lauren in the later parts of her life about what do you want? Like, Lauren, what do you want this sibling fund to be? Like, I'll make it whatever you want it to be. And she was like, I would like an event on the anniversary of my passing every year, and I want my family to be involved. And none of her family knew any of this. So I'm up there telling them all of these things that she wanted, you know? And she wanted sunflower shoelaces. That's the one thing I could get her to really nail. She said she wanted every sibling, because she was a big sunflower, and yellow. And so I said, well, the one idea that she loved, I was like, Lauren, what if I put sunflower shoelaces in all the siblings' shoe bags, the swag bags that we sent out? She's like, yes, I love that. I'm like, great. But I'm up there in front of this room of people, and I feel so connected. Like, so something so small, and every story that they told about Lauren was what she did with us, where she saw somebody in need, and though she was dealing with these ultimate consequences, through her faith and through her approach, she found peace in helping others. And it was just the most beautiful, sad, happy, like cathartic experience. But there was so much dignity and honor and beauty in what she did and what she's going to continue to do. So I get to tell her number one thing was she didn't want to be forgotten. Like, it was the weirdest thing ever. And I remember, like, at the funeral, I was like, she's on my desk. Like, I brought her with me tonight because all the siblings, they get this picture of her, and it tells her story on the back. So she sits on my desk, every day I talk to her. But I get to tell her story. Like, the number one thing she wanted, I get to do. I get to tell, and not only that, I get to tell families that because of her, we can help their families. And it's just, these are the things, like, when I started Project Outrun, I'm not thinking of Lauren Cornelison. Why would I think of Lauren Cornell? none of this is a part of it. And so it's just weird how the connective tissue of life and the way that it, like that push-pull relationship, how these people enter and leave such a lasting impact, not only on you personally, but on your foundation, and you're just honored. Sorry, I feel like I'm just talking a lot, but
No, man. Yeah, it's great. And you had mentioned we're all dealing with a lot in our minds and a lot going on in there, where if you can keep yourselves focusing on others and the impact that you can have there, that keeps you out of your own mind and all of the trash that can go on in there. And so, again, it's great to hear stories of that and the impact that you and Project Outrun are having on those families and the impact that they're having on you in turn.
Yeah, there's a real like reciprocal nature to it. And I tell anybody, I have a lot of people reach out for foundation consulting, and people want to start foundations, especially a lot of our families. They want to start foundations because what happens is they're in this space, this frenetic space, and I'm sure that you know about this, where you're always like on the go. So like you're always on edge. You're always doing, and then all of a sudden, by the way, March was Ryder's last chemo, right? His last pill, his last medication.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Can I give a round of applause
Sure.
for that?
Yeah.
But that frenetic. So families always want to like use that immediately and start a foundation and like give back. And I love that they want to do that. But I always caution them that whatever you do in this nonprofit world, in this foundation world, especially volunteer nonprofits like ours, the work has to fulfill you. Like it can't drain you, right? Like this podcast doesn't drain you. It fills you, right? It gives to you. And that's what nonprofit work should do. And I run into so many times where people feel like they're running into a wall with their foundation and they're frustrated and boards aren't doing this and volunteers aren't doing this. And then it's because they lose sight of the work, they lose sight of the why.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're charging through walls. I can tell just by how excited you are about this. But that's so wise as far as if you're running into roadblocks, maybe it's not the right thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just got to pay attention to that. So we kind of touched on this before we sat down, but I want to have a little faith talk. Can we have a little spirituality?
Let's do it, man.
We're up for it.
That's what we're here for.
Let's be the noble pillar.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
So I am on a spiritual journey, a faith journey, a journey where I don't know where it leads, but I've always had one foot in and one foot out with my spirituality. And I have a wall that I'm trying to break through. And I've always felt like I believed in God, but I didn't belong to God. But I was like, I'm going to live a life that he would be proud of. A lot of Project Outrun, a lot of the things that I live my life, I think I want that. I'm hoping that the Creator says he took the skills that he had and he glorified others. Like he joined, like again, the team joining. I sound like, but like he connected with people, he cared. But I was never like both feet in the pool. I just wasn't. And there's a lot of things that I need to work through, but I was never running towards working through them. I was almost running from them. And into my life 3 years ago walks Colin Nemeth, recently diagnosed, Cleveland Clinic kiddo, crazy rare cancer, very aggressive, and his likelihood of survival is like pretty much zero. They know that they're pretty certain that this cancer is going to take him. And his family is devoutly religious, a Brunswick family, and they're devoutly religious. And he has this miraculous like recovery. He has this God visits him. He has, clear as day, he says, he goes up to his father at his church and he says, God visited me last night and told me my cancer is gone. And his father was like, okay, don't you have scans this week? And he was like, I do. And I'm talking about the father, I think it's Father Bob, I believe. And Father Bob was like, I think Colin, your scans are this week. And they all know his tumor's like incredibly aggressive. There's no way that it could be gone, But he's up and bouncing around doing well. So sure enough, Colin goes to the hospital and his scans are clear. The cancer is gone. Crazy. So he has this, so Colin and the Nemeth family use this and a testimonial, and they rally all of these people in Brunswick behind his cause. And this little boy brings so many people to God, like so many people to God. An 8-year-old little boy. So for 3 years, he kind of fought this thing of the tumor's back, and then it's gone, and then it's back, and then it's gone. And it was gone for a good amount of time. And then at Christmas of this year, it came back, and it was super aggressive. And Mike Nemeth reached out to me, and he said, Andy, Colin's got another round of chemo, and I was wondering if you could make him another pair of Outruns. And I was like, what do you mean make them for him? He's like, well, I think it would mean a lot if you made them and you dropped them at the house. Because, all of our kids, I've only designed one pair of shoes for a kiddo in this program. It was Kylie, the first pair. And now Colin Nemeth, almost 4 years later, his dad asked me to design shoes for him. So I'm like, if you're going to ask me to design shoes for Colin, I'm not going to just do any shoe. Like, I'm going to do like a shoe experience. So we got a shoe and made it emblematic of everything Colin. Like, I took it to the seamstress in Montrose and had her sew like loops on the back so we could put posts in it. So we made trick shot shoes because he's a big Dude Perfect fan. We made Colin Nemeth trick shot shoes. Like, you could shoot baskets, you could shoot dart guns. I turned the sneaker box into a table tennis. Like, that's awesome. It was legit. But on Easter, so this kiddo that's so religious, they're not sure if he's going to make it. So these shoes are almost done. But I'm like, I got to get these shoes to him. And so symbolic. So on Easter morning, I'm dropping these shoes off to this little boy who has fought this valiant fight, that had walked with God the whole time. This beautiful walk with God, like just glorious. Like all the glory. I can't even explain to you how much glory surrounded this kiddo. So I'm dropping these, and I put the box down, and he is risen. Like there's a sign, literally the shoes are here, and he is risen is right next to these. And we put a Dude Perfect emblem on the back. These trick shot shoes. I'll send you guys a picture. So he gets the shoes, and he gets a little bit better that week. But he passes. So he passes. We buried Lauren on Saturday. And then Colin, who has been just a pillar of our project, passes on that Thursday. Okay? So I'm really close with the Nemeths. Mike Nemeth texts me on Thursday. And he says, Colin's gone, and he fought so hard, but I haven't talked to Kim Nemeth yet, a mom. And I talk to her regularly, but I really don't know what to say. And I'm like, I'm not going to text her on Thursday. I'm going to wait till Friday. I promise you the story has a point. Not that it hasn't had a point yet, but it's a really cool part of my journey. So every Friday morning, so Colin Nemeth's favorite song in the world is from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's Uka Chaco, Uka, Uka, I can't stop. You know that one? Yeah. He loves Guardians of the Galaxy. And one of my buddies is a singer-songwriter in San Diego, and I hooked him up. And he made a cover of that song for Colin and would play it for him a lot of the times. So on Friday morning, I'm super sad, and I go into Tiffanys Bakery. Shout out Tiffany. I feel like I shout everything out, but Tiffanys Bakery is delicious. I go into Tiffanys Bakery, and I'm super emotional. I have my son with me because we go to donuts every Friday. And for some reason, I look on the counter, and there's a pamphlet. I brought the pamphlet for this. First of all, this is Mila Lemon. She's one of our Outrun kids from Akron Children's Hospital. So this is on the counter, right? And I don't know this foundation. It's new. I don't know anything about it, but it seems great. But I'm looking at this pamphlet, and Project Outrun doesn't have pamphlets anywhere at places. And
swag bags.
Yeah, well, but I'm thinking man, we need a pamphlet. We have some cool rat cards, which we could put places, but this has donor information. It's extra legit. And these things are expensive, by the way, to do. So, but I'm looking at Mila Lemon, and my heart is just so heavy. And I can't figure out, I know I have to text Kim Nemeth. I don't know what I'm going to say. And I'm looking at this flyer, and I'm thinking, Colin's on so much of our stuff. And I'm thinking, I know the Nemeths will want us to keep it on there. But I'm thinking of Colin. My whole heart is Colin, right? And I go to put this down. Literally go to put this down. And on the speaker above, I didn't even know they played music in Tiffanys. I hear, Uka Chaco, Uka, Uka, Uka Chaco. And I look at my son, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I run out to my car to get my cell phone. And I've got my cell phone recording a speaker. I mean, they're tiny speakers in the ceiling. So here's this giant dude recording this song. They must have thought I was on drugs, bawling my eyes out. like bawling my eyes out. And it wasn't like the song was on when we came in. It was literally like, drop this, song comes on.
Here it goes.
So clearly I kept the brochure, but because I'm like, I need to find out more about this nonprofit. Maybe Colin's telling me and God is telling me I need to learn more about this nonprofit. But I thought, Colin, I didn't know how I was going to tell this mom that, I didn't know how I was going to reach out to Kim Nemeth. Like, what was I going to say to Kim Nemeth that she hasn't heard? I was like, Colin just gave me the best story to reach out to Kim to check on her. So I texted her the story. And I was just like, what a beautiful, universal wink, serendipity, whatever you want to call it, but magic, right? Magic. And since he's passed, I've had so many winks like that. So Colin Nemeth to me has always been, he passed, his calling hours were on our 4-year anniversary of our project. Like I spent our 4-year anniversary in a line for his calling hours. And at his calling hours, it was like 4.5 hour line to see his body, like to be next to Colin, 4.5 hours. And as we got into the church, it was amazing. They had like pictures and candies, and it was like a carnival in there. It was beautiful. But as we're in there, we see Diana Swinehart and a couple of the Cleveland Clinic caretakers that cared for Colin during his journey. And I see like Diana like looking around when she's at the casket with Kim, and she's like looking for me and my wife and 2 of my volunteers. And I see her come and like wave to us. And we're like in this line, like we've made friends with everybody in front of us, behind us. We've got relationships with these people. And she says to me, Kim wants you like to come see Colin. So I'm like, I'm a rule follower. Like I follow, my wife makes fun of me. Like I don't jaywalk. But I was like, we're in a line though. She's like, no, she wants you to come be with his caretakers. So, and this family, like, is burying their 11-year-old little boy. And the dad looks at me, and I'm on a knee praying with Colin, praying with the caretakers, like with the people that cared for. And we make shoes, you know what I mean? But we do. We are like in a way we're a part of that team, which was such an honor. But Colin's dad, Mike Nemeth, looks at me. He goes, "You're a mess." I was like. He's like, he's where he's meant to be. Like, he did his work. Like, he's where he's supposed to be. And I was looking like the power of that. And he's like, and I've never seen so much peace, like so much peace over this little, and I never thought I didn't think I could do this part of it. Like, I knew I could do the work. I knew I could be part of the teams. But the funeral thing, I always stayed away from. It just felt like it would make it too real. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But instead, it's given me this new thought process and this faith awakening, and I keep getting these winks of like, it's something in our project that's needed. Like, Project Outrun needs. We've had faith, but I feel like in some capacity we need to run towards that faith. But yeah, it was just an absolutely, like, again, very cathartic. So within like 8 days, we lose these 2 pillars of our project. But again, Colin Nemeth's family said, in lieu of flowers, donations to Project Outrun. Yeah. What do you even say to that? So just so much beauty. So I feel like Colin Nemeth is bombarding me with messages of like, Andy, it's time. Uka Chaka, right? So like Uka Chaka is my thing. Like Uka Chaka, I play it in the morning, like get to work. Like when I'm tired, when there's certain things that I don't want to do, I literally put that song, I say Uka Chaka, and I say, Colin, I'm gonna finish this fight. Like I'm gonna lean on what you started, and I'm hoping to be able to help that Nemeth family, because I know there's so much that they want to do foundationally with faith-based foundation and spreading his word and spreading his story, and they donated. They got live cancer cells from Colin. The first time they've gotten live cancer cells of his type since like 1953 or something. So, yeah, dude, such craziness. So this is my last story. So I'm being pushed and pulled, like we talked about that, towards God. I really believe that, towards an understanding of faith and an understanding and a journey that I need to be on. But this was the last straw, like literally the last straw that made me start doing the Bible in a year app. because this is what I was literally like, I give up, like I submit. Because there's like 10 things. I could be here for like 5
got my
hours.
attention.
Yeah. So a couple days later, in the morning, I'm getting my kids ready for school, and I hear a Mumford and Sons song, and it has Rose in it, right? And my family were florists. Like I grew up in a greenhouse. My grandparents were like second generation rose growers and just floral company, and I grew up there. And so roses have always had like a real symbolic meaning to me. So when I hear songs with Rose in it, it just always is like, huh, that's interesting. That song sounded great. I love Mumford and Sons. Let's circle back to this. So that night, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, I really want to send Kim Nemeth, Colin's mom, this song. And I don't know why I want to send her this song, but I was like, I really want to send her this song. I don't know what this song is called, but I know there's a rose. So I like go searching Mumford and Sons' last album, and I see Rose of Sharon, and I'm like, that's probably it. So I push play. Have you guys ever heard the song Rose of Sharon? By the way?
No.
It's incredible. So I start listening to the words, and I'm like, man, this song is amazing, but I don't know if I can send it to, and it feels like it would really resonate with her. But I don't know if I can send it because I don't know what a Rose of Sharon is. And like, it could be anything, right? Literally anything. It could be like this girl he dated and went terribly wrong. And it's just, I'm misreading the metaphor. So I type Rose of Sharon into my phone. And the first thing that pops up is Rose of Sharon, biblical reference. And I was like, of course it is. So it says like Rose of Sharon alludes to one of the 7 holy flowers, lilies of the valley. Many scholars believe it to be symbolic of Jesus Christ. And I just go, that's it. Like, there is no reason in this world that I would hear a random song in the morning, be like so subconsciously driven to send it to this mom that is so faith-based, and then to look it up that night and for it to literally mean this thing that I feel like has been, I was like, I give up. I literally give up. I downloaded the Bible in a Year app the next day, and I was like, we're doing it. Like, we're going. We're going to church again. Like, so this little boy continues his work. It's insane. It's like Lauren. You know, like these people can, because of the way that they lived while they were here, their work continues. Mm-hmm. And I mean, so one of the many Project Outrun stories, but to think that Project Outrun and Colin Nemeth are bringing me back to God, and the idea that I grew up around roses. I started this program for a little girl named Kylie Rose Jacobs, and then 4 years later, that happens. I'm like, I give up. Yeah. I give up. I'm on a journey, boys.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to be here with you for some of it. We're not going to make you go through that full journey tonight, but no, if God wants to find you, He's going to find you. And you're sitting here with 3 strong believers, and we're going to love to walk along you in some of that journey, hopefully, as you go and talk through some of it, because it's, there's going to be tons of challenges. But that was the main thing for us, is you can look at pediatric cancer and you can think you can have 2 choices. You can take it to be, all right, well, this is terrible. There's nothing good that can come from this except for this is a cancer for a kid. It's a terrible thing. Or you can take it as, all right, well, there's got to be a reason behind this. Why would our kid get cancer? And there's got to be a story to tell there. And you're getting to see that firsthand of these kids that have impact on your life, but on hundreds and hundreds of people around them, to see that. And, you never know what God has planned for somebody when that happens. And, it's awesome to hear your journey through that. And I had some other stuff planned here and some other questions. I feel like talking about the Be Fit pillar and Be Chill pillar just doesn't fit with the conversation here.
I told you I was going to hijack it. I'm sorry.
And that's all right. We love it, and we just appreciate you being able to be vulnerable. That's one thing in today's culture that sometimes it's, you want to always be strong and feel like, you don't have weaknesses, but, that's not what being a true man is. You've got to be able to be vulnerable and be able to be willing to give up that and know that, hey, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I don't know everything, and I need help.
Yeah. The best. I feel that's the most, like, to say that feels so cleansing to me. To be like I don't, and that's the number one thing I like, to be like, I love being like, I'm terrible at this. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so, like, knowing where your weaknesses are. Like, if you know where your weaknesses are and you know where your strengths are, that's how you're so successful in life. But you have to be able to identify and ask for help and be vulnerable.
I think that's the biggest thing. And again, why we love you sharing it, because we all know we're broken. We're messy.
Right.
We don't have it all figured out. We're doing this because we get to learn and hear other people's stories and see the impact that they've had in people around them in their lives. But, we're all trying to figure this out together. We try our best. We try to get better every day. But, man, we're never going to have it all figured out. And there's got to be something bigger out there. Otherwise, why are we even here?
Right.
Yeah, love it, man. Appreciate you sharing. And, you've thrown out some Project Outrun swag, as you always do. I think actually our boys got to join in with a little bit of the sibling swag that you mentioned earlier. They got a couple pairs of shoes from that, a couple LeBrons.
Yep.
And, so normally we give a shirt out to our guests. And unfortunately, you're pretty big. You're tall. You're like 6'3", 6'4"?
6'4" and a quarter, no
Yeah.
shoes.
So unfortunately, our shirts that we have right now don't fit. So we got something a little better for you tonight. So we're going to present you here with a
Stop it.
$400
Who did this
check here.
check? This
You like
check
that?
is
That's Sarah. She's
Sarah
got some
did? She's
legit
got some
skills.
skills.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. So we're gonna give that here to Project
This is
Outrun to
amazing.
continue with your outreach and to get more kids saying I'm not sick but my shoes are, man, because you guys are doing a great cause. We love it. We love to support it. Glad that you could come out here with us tonight and to just dive into that journey with you a little bit more. Again, man, can't thank you enough.
Yeah, let's do this again so I can tell you about my progress on my walk of faith.
We're gonna check back in on it for
Please
sure,
do.
and we'll get
Please
you back
do.
on here.
Absolutely.
All right, good. Grace Church, I'll see you Sunday. I'm bringing the fam. And we actually got, this is kind of cool. I was with my brother-in-law before we came here, and we were talking about Mother's Day, and my wife is like, yeah, we're going to church. And he's like, we'll go to church. So my brother-in-law is going to church with, and also they weren't, so it's like, let's the momentum. It's
Yeah.
that snowball effect.
That's right. Keep them
Yeah,
coming.
We're doing it. Thank
That's
you
right.
guys. This is seriously amazing. I'm just really, I want Sarah to write all of the things in my life. This is,
Yeah, she's got some
It's
skills.
so
Yeah,
good.
and
This
don't worry,
is-
we've actually got we'll have an actual check for you too.
no,
So
I'm taking
you
this
can
to the
take this
bank.
though.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
signing the back. Thank you guys so much for
All right.
having me.
Thanks,
Andy.
Also, one last thing. Everybody, Project Outrun, if you have an Instagram account, please follow
Mm-hmm.
us at Project Outrun.
Yep.
www.projectoutrun.org for donation to keep tabs on what we're doing, where we're evolving to, but a lot of exciting things to come in the rest of 2021 and 2022. And yeah, just please continue on this run with us because it's been really, really cool.
Yeah.
And in the show notes, we'll put all that information, Instagram, everything. Great website, easy to get onto, and yeah, guys, support Andy. This is awesome.
Yeah.
We love what you're doing, man.
Yep. Great cause.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy.
Of course.
Glad you could join us for another Core 4 Life podcast. If you like what you're hearing, please share this with a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at Core 4 Life, or check out our website, core4life.com. That's core, F-O-U-R, life.com. Tune in next Thursday for another brand new episode.
Core for life.
Yep.
I said a core for life.
Dilly.